Good morning, Pastor Steve again. Ephesians chapter 4, Paul says, I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you to walk worthy of the calling with which you were called, with all lowliness and gentleness, with long suffering, bearing with one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Now, in our area, a peace bond is a bond that's required as part of a court order to guarantee that a person will stay away from another person that's been threatened or bothered. This bond will be given up if the order is violated. That is no consolation to the person who's injured, murdered, or molested by the violator because a piece of paper doesn't work. Well, except in Walmart. You know that piece of paper on the toilet seat? I carry one all the time for protection. So far, I haven't been attacked, so I think it worked. But that's another story. The bond of peace that Paul struck, I know, don't write letters. The bond of peace that Paul wants us to have, by the way, it's funny, isn't it, how a term can say the same thing but be totally something different? This bond of peace is in the unity of our spirit. The Spirit bestowed oneness on all believers. There's a oneness there. In 1 Corinthians 6 and 12 and Philippians 1. He has created a bond of peace, a spiritual cord that surrounds and binds the people of God together. That bond of love in Colossians 3. Leaders are told in 2 Timothy 2, the servant of the Lord must not participate in quarrels, must be kind to everyone, even tempered, preserving peace. Paul told the church in Philippi, in chapter 2, 2 through 4, fulfill my joy, being like-minded, having the same mind, being of one accord, of one mind. Let nothing, he says, be done through strife or empty glory, ambition or conceit, but remember this lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than himself. Let each of you look not only for his own interest, but also for the interests of others. Romans 12, 17 through 20. He says, don't repay anyone evil for evil. Have regard for everything right in the sight of everybody. If it's possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. Beloved, do not avenge yourselves, but rather give place to wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, said the Lord. Therefore, if your enemy hungers, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him a drink. In so doing, you will heap coals of fire on his head. Then he says, don't be overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Those verses, and there are many more, instruct us to look out for each other, have one another's back, have a right heart, have a good spirit toward our family in Christ. Attitudes of humility, gentleness, and patience should characterize Christians. We're told to accept one another in love. That doesn't mean we all have to agree, but that we are all agreeable, approachable. In this modern world, that's a trait that'll stick out. It'll be noticeable because it's extremely different. By the way, in the church, it's unfortunately lacking as well. I've seen a lot of sad things as I read social media. I think even among God's people, it's become unsocial media. If you have a viewpoint that's different, discuss it without rancor and keep your disagreements off your Facebook page, for heaven's sakes. As God's children, let us walk worthy of the calling with which we are called, with all lowliness of mind, gentleness, patiently bearing with one another in love. Now, you ponder that, Pastor Steve.